Welcome back to the Women's Basketball Summit, the online platform for players, coaches, and parents. Today, my guest is Maria Noucas. She is the assistant basketball coach in Chicago, and I am super excited to talk to her because she is a New Hampshire native like me.
Yeah.
We grew up playing with kind of the same coaches. So, Maria, welcome to the call.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
So for everyone that is not familiar with you who's listening, why don't we give them a background? Obviously, they know you grew up in New Hampshire, but where did you go to high school, and then where did you end up for college?
Yeah, so I'm from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, so I played at Portsmouth High School, played with the New England Crusaders, AAU, and then I went to and played at Bowdoin College in Brunswick, Maine for 4 years.
Nice. And people that aren't familiar with kind of the New England college, Bowdoin's a pretty good free school. So just talk about your time playing there.
Yeah, Bowdoin is an incredible school. I think one of the best parts about it is the community. I went there for two reasons. One was I knew I wanted to coach when I was like 15 or 16. Carol Leary, who runs the Crusaders, put that bug in my ear. And so I made that part of my recruiting process. And so the head coach at Bowdoin, Steph Pemper, just one of the ways she recruited me, besides the fact that they had been in the national championship the year before and all that stuff, was that I'll mentor you as a coach for 4 years. And so that was a huge part of my development there. And the other big part was just how great of a community it is. I said that one of the reasons I chose Bowdoin is because I went on my visit and people said hi to me. It's a simple thing, right? Like it's, you're there and they're like, hey, it's like a random student's like, hey, how's it going? You're like, great, how are you? And so that stayed the same for 4 years. And I tried to make that kind of part of the way that I was there. And then we were super successful. I mean, that was a huge reason why I picked Bowdoin was they were already at the top of the nation in Division III and we stayed there. And so it was really fun on that ride to be a part of that. And Steph is kind of a mastermind. So
nice. So before we get into like kind of your coaching career, like Bowdoin is part of the NESCAC and they are a highly regarded conference in Division III. Can you just talk about, because I have a coach talking on the summit who is a coach in the NESCAC, like talk about like being a player in there and then day in and day out, you're playing some of the top teams in the country.
Yeah, I think it's truly the biggest balance of academics and basketball, right? Because different from Division I, you don't have these, you have 8 hours a week, you have, all this kind of stuff. You're still doing all that lifting and you're doing all that conditioning, but you have this like set, and it's a NESCAC rule that you can only practice after 4 p.m. because you can't interfere with any class ever. And so that's where I think your schedule is a little bit different is, you're practicing from like 4 to 7, 7 to 10 at night, because that's just what it's required academically. And so then you're doing that. You don't start till November 1st. Everyone starts October 15th. And then you're playing in like the best conference in the country against the best teams in the country. And so it's a different sort of challenge, I think, than other divisions. And I don't think people fully realize just that kind of commitment when you're at that level in Division III. But it's one of the coolest experiences, and then you get to go deep into the NCAA tournament. Like we went to 2 Elite Eights and made it to the second round. We got to host the NCAA tournament, all that kind of stuff. That was really cool and I think really unique in that experience that people don't always realize.
Nice. Obviously, you're a Division I basketball coach now, but I just wanted people, I think some players just have their eyes set Division I, Division I, Division I. And I think sometimes they go in, their eyes are wide open, but there's blinders on to know that you play Division I. Like, you're not coming home in the summer. You're taking a summer course. You're going to stay there for strength and conditioning, right after Labor Day, preseason starts, the season starts. So it's just having your perspective. I appreciate that. So you graduated Bowdoin, and then talk about your coaching career and how you moved up the ranks.
Yeah, so I got really lucky. I wasn't lucky that Steph Pemper left us going into my senior year. We got a great coach at Bowdoin. But so Steph went to a college coach, left and went to become the head coach at Navy in the Patriot League. And so right after I graduated, she hired me down there as an assistant. And so I jumped right into coaching. I didn't even think about playing overseas, nothing like that. I was like, I want to be a coach. I wanted to do this since Kara talked to me about it. And so I went right into it. So I moved down to Maryland a week after I graduated, and Navy was a building program. And Steph, again, is a little bit of a mastermind when it comes to this stuff. But, in our first year, we were 500. In our second year, we won our first conference championship. It was the first championship in program history. And then the following 2 years, we won conference championships again. So it was a really unique, cool experience to see my college coach in a different element in this like amazing service academy leadership little cauldron figure it out so quickly and see players buy into it so quickly. So I was there for 4 years, and then I left there and actually came home, went and coached at Dartmouth for 3 years. And so my dad went to Dartmouth. I grew up in New Hampshire. I'd always wanted to coach at Dartmouth. I mean, Belle, who's still the head coach there, Coach Clonis, will say, like, never met a prouder New Hampshire native. I mean, you can probably relate to this, Jen. Just like live free or die, the whole thing, right? And so it was really cool to be in Dartmouth in the Ivy League. Again, similar to Division III, just different challenges academically and all that, trying to balance it. And the Ivy League is, right on the border of between being a mid-major and high D1. When I was there, we were the 8th best conference in the country, and I think they're like the 10th now. And so that was cool and really unique in its own way. So I was there for 3 years. That was my first time being a recruiting coordinator too. So that was a great experience. And then, as you build your network, you go throughout coaching, meet different people. I actually met the current head coach at Loyola when she was an assistant at St. Bonaventure, and I was at Dartmouth, and we ran the same offense. We went and watched St. Bonaventure practices, met Kate Octor there, and just stayed in touch with her as I was at Dartmouth. And then she got the head coaching job at Loyola Chicago, where I am now. And she called me at the end of July, super late, saying, like, so I'm Greek. There's Greek town in Chicago. Her and I had Greek food there before. And she was like, do you want some feta cheese? I was like, I'd love some. Let's do this. And yeah, now I'm at Loyola. And so I'm going into my 3rd season there.
So you said, like, you kind of wanted to go back to New Hampshire, New Hampshire girl. What made you go to Loyola and coach there? Was there, because I mean, it drew you out of your home state.
And I know, right? Drew me out of my home state. I was 2 hours from home. I mean, I always say my coaching journey has been this journey of building programs, right? So I'm obsessed with building programs. I just am, and so we did it at Navy. We did it so fast at Navy. We did it at Dartmouth. I felt like we had gotten to the point at Dartmouth where we were kind of just starting to take off when this Loyola opportunity came in. And then Loyola's been another really big build. I wanted a different challenge. I wanted to coach at a full scholarship school because, weirdly enough, I'd been coaching for 7 years but never coached with at Navy we had a scholarship, but you know what I mean. Just no strings attached, just money. And so that was a big part of it. The city was a big part of it. I'd recruited Chicago the whole time I'd been coaching, and so I'd recruited out here a lot, but I really wanted to be in it. The region is so good. I thought we could be really good. And then Loyola's still a top 100 academic school. So I've always wanted to coach in schools that value academics, and Loyola does that. And so all of those things really hit. And then when I came out to visit, it's right on Lake Michigan. It feels like an easy sell. We're still building. And then, and I love Kate. I mean, I think I've been really lucky to work for, and this is one of the reasons I love your summit, is really strong, powerful women. I've been super lucky. I mean, I would be, you see all the stats about only 15% of AAU coaches are women. And I'm like, I've only been coached by women for the last, 15 years of my life. And so that's been really important to me too. And so that kind of all went together in coming out here.
Yes, I love it. I'm a big supporter that we need more women coaches,
yes.
Girls and females. So I'm glad you said that. So what are your job responsibilities right now? I know you are the recruiting coordinator, but kind of talk to everyone about what your responsibilities are.
Yeah. So as the recruiting coordinator, I mean, it kind of is what it sounds like. I'm head up kind of the organization of all of our recruiting classes. So from what our needs are, guiding those conversations, and helping our head coach and all that, because obviously the head coach is the ultimate decision maker in that. So organizing our classes, organizing where we're going, figuring out who we're recruiting, why we're recruiting them. I think what a lot of people and recruits and parents can hear this too is, every college coach goes into their recruiting cycle with a specific need. And sometimes you just don't meet that specific need. It's kind of like what we were talking about with, Division III versus Division II versus Division I. And so we start there, we build out to all the different recruiting periods, all the different messaging, what we're doing, how we're trying to get recruits to campus, visits, the whole thing. So everything you think about with recruiting is like my day-to-day all the time. I have a checklist on my desk that says daily recruiting checklist, and I answered like 8 questions to myself every day where we're at. And also the guard coach, which is really fun and helping in skill development. We have academic teams, which I think is really cool and unique at Loyola. So I have an academic team of 4 kids that I meet with weekly. We do some team bonding stuff. We do some mental toughness stuff. So a little bit more than academics. I am involved in opponent scouting. So I think it's like 6 or 7 scouts a year. It might be more than that by the end of it, which is really fun. I think that's one of my favorite parts. The basketball geek in me loves that. because I just get to watch a ton of film. And now we have all this different technology, you know, you can watch like the last 100 makes of a specific player. You can watch the last 10 times the team ran this offense. And so that's really fun. That's a huge part of in season. And then just a lot of different things. You know, I'm really big on relationships. I think that's a really big part of coaching anyways, but I always like to mention that in my role because it's important. You know, no head coach is going to say like, oh, you need to be a relationship builder, but that is such a big part of being a coach, you know, so I always consider that part of my role too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. So if we go back to recruiting, I talked, there's some pretty good AAU programs, obviously the Crusaders in New England, there's some pretty good programs in Massachusetts where I am. And I know like July was like the crazy time. They were in like Louisville to Chicago and then DC.
Yeah.
I know you're going out recruiting, you have a specific need, but talk about also like what you're looking for. Like if I'm sure there's names on your recruiting list, you want to go watch them play. Like, what do you watch them? Because I know with AAU now, what I kind of hear from a lot of the parents, the players, it's a very selfish kind of, they're just trying to impress the coaches. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's different levels, but what are you actually looking for?
Yeah, I mean, so I think first and foremost, we're looking for unselfish players, you know, and I think that it gets exposed a lot sooner than people think. Whether it's, you know, you're attacking the rim and your teammate is actually more open than you and it's a better shot than the one you're going to take. Like, are you going to throw that pass? You know, and then if you're a post player, are you going to go rebound hard? You know, like that's actually a pretty unselfish thing. Are you high-fiving your teammates? Are you listening to your coach? You know, it happens so frequently where a coach calls a player over and a player just brushes him or her off. And you're like, come on, man. Like, that's not what we're looking for. But in addition to that, we're looking for, you know, highly skilled players. So like at Loyola, for example, we want to play really fast, right? So we need kids with high motors. Like that's just, we need athletic kids. We need kids who want to get out and run. And then we go into ball screen offense. So we need guards who can handle the ball and posts who can come out, set a great screen and roll hard or pop hard. And so that's what goes into that versatility part for post players too. And so I think we maybe have different needs than other people. We need like really, really versatile players. You know, we probably will never have a big 6'3" post that's just going to like take up the paint. We'd love to have one. But it fits, you know, but it fits in but the other stuff kind of fits in our system more. And so that's kind of the skill stuff we're looking for. But then, you know, the motor, our head coach is just awesome. She's feisty and competitive. And she's one of the best players to ever play at Bowling Green. And like one of the things we really look for is just people like her, you know? And I think that's kind of what your parents are talking about is like, there needs to be this more feisty competitive part of AAU. And we talk about it all the time as a staff is, how does that happen more? You know, do you play less games? Do you know, because like you were talking about Louisville to Chicago to DC. Well, Louisville and Chicago, these kids are playing really hard. And then you get to DC and they're just tired, you know? And so that's where we have to become better evaluators and say, even though you're tired and you missed that shot, do we think you would make that shot? You know, do we think, and that's where some of those effort plays come into. Yeah,
I mean, I played AAU kind of like the late 90s because I early 2000s. Yeah, I'm an old lady, but like we would go to one national tournament and like you had to win your state tournament. So we'd be playing like with the Shooting Stars and the Rockettes. Like we had to go to and win that and go to the national tournament. And that was kind of like the big thing. Mm-hmm. And then that was kind of like the end for AAU. Now, to me, it's like a whole different world where these kids are going, like I just said, like in July, I don't even think they were home. If they were home for 2-3 days. And I'm like, I obviously AAU is important, but it was just like, these kids are just, number one, they're getting beaten down to begin with their schedules. But I was just curious, like kind of what you're looking for. I mean, I don't know, when you played AAU, were you more similar to me or were you more similar to what's going on now?
No, definitely more similar to you. I mean, even the Crusaders at that point, we only had 3 teams. You know, we all traveled together in the whole thing. And now a lot of these programs, you know, I think Kara tries to keep it as pure as she can too, but she still has, you know, 10 or 12 teams. And so, yeah, no, I still was a lot closer to you. I think it changed. It seemed like it changed mostly right after I graduated from college, like 2009. And I think that's when a lot of different things in the landscape of AAU changed. But I don't, you know, you can never, and I think this is what kids lose a lot of too, is like, you just can never lose sight of the value of just being a really good basketball player. You know, just, it's so simple to say, but like, and not worry about trainers and all that stuff, but just how can I be a really good basketball player? you know, and what does that mean for me? Not necessarily for Susie, who I'm playing with, but what am I really good at, and what can I showcase, but still within being a team player, you know, fit in the system, the whole thing, but just worry about what you have to do. You know what I mean? In a really unselfish way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
A lot.
No, absolutely. Now, you guys obviously this summer, all the coaches, I'm assuming, were on the road.
Yeah.
Did your team stay for summer classes in strength and conditioning?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and we had a really good summer. So we're, like I said, we're going into our third year. Our culture's in a really good place. Building programs are fun because going into that third year, you're like, anything's possible. You know, if these, like, we have sophomores acting like seniors, and I think that's one of the cool parts about summer and having that summer access, is that it's like a little learning lab for them. You know, they have the freshmen coming in wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, and they get to just kind of lead them. And so it's really neat. We have, like I said, we have sophomores acting like seniors. They put in a ton of work on their own. We do this really cool investment pool in the summer. We literally blow up a kids pool, and we put it in the locker room. And when you, every time you invest in our program, whether it's a lift, extra shooting, whatever it is, you just put it on a piece of paper, you write your name on it, you put it in the pool. And so the pool was really full this summer, which was, 'cause it's the third year we've done it. And so it was neat to see the pool be more full, and summer was a really good time for that too.
Nice. So now preseason is pretty much upon us. What are you looking for with the preseason and expectations with the upcoming season?
Yeah. You know, we have a young group, but they're really bought into our culture. And so it's going to be really fun to see just where they take it. You know, we were talking yesterday, and we feel like our team's going to come back in shape, which is, as you know, really important. You can do a lot when your team's in shape. We feel like they're going to come in shape. We feel like they want to get better with their basketball IQ, and we just feel like they want to be good. You know, they seem really inspired to be good, which is like, it's a really simple thing to say, but it's a lot to actually do it. And so, yeah, we're really excited to get going. We're really excited to play fast. You know, I think, to be honest, I think that's one of the newer things we're trying to do, and our team is buying into it. Speaking of being in shape, that's a really important part of it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's important to be in shape, number one, so you coaches can kind of put in what you want right away, but also kids, and they're not in shape. Injuries are going.
Exactly. And there goes to all the injury stuff you do on the summer.
And I mean, how much, obviously coaches invest in the kids, but you have a freshman that's coming in. They didn't do their summer conditioning. They start running and they get injured.
Exactly.
Kind of the worst way you could start your college career.
Exactly.
You're going to have a hard time kind of getting out of the doghouse, I guess, with the college coach. So, I mean, I try to tell the females I work with and just my communications with everyone, please, girls, start strength training, start conditioning. And I think that's a huge part of what girls in general are missing the boat on.
Mm-hmm. And even if it's body weight, I think that's what we talk about. It's neat when our strength coach meets with people when they come to campus. That's one of the first things he'll tell them: just start doing push-ups. Like, just figure out how to handle your body weight. Squat. I'm sure you tell this to people all the time too. Squat, lunge, push-ups. You don't need weights. Like, just figure out how your body works, and kind of go from there. So that's
so funny. I mean, obviously you're a coach. You're not so much a strength coach, but it's just funny that you just said the same thing that you're hearing the best strength coaches in the country that are working with you, South Carolina. They're like, these girls come in and they have no body awareness. They don't know their body. Yeah. So it's just funny that even as a coach, just watching what you see, you're saying the same thing over. So as we wrap up this call, I know played at Bowdoin, very high level. You've been coaching some Division I's the last 7-8 years. Just what advice would you give to the athletes that are listening to this call?
Yeah, I would say just don't overthink it. Don't overthink recruiting. Don't overthink your training. Just remember that, like, basketball at its purest form is you in the driveway with the ball, and I think we see a lot of kids getting 3 to 4 trainers to work on finishing, to work on your handle, your shot. You can do all that by yourself, and you can do that while watching great basketball. You can do that while, like, if Maya Moore is your favorite player, watch Maya Moore and find a couple skills that you can apply, not the crazy ones, but the simple ones, and I think that's a really important part of it too, is, be in control of your own game. And I think that will help you even more when you get to college, because that work ethic will already be in place. And then just don't overthink your recruiting. You find your best fit. A lot of kids recruit, we have kids out here who commit their sophomore year. We have kids out here who commit their senior year. If you have teammates who are committing earlier, like, it's just your path. you know, explore your options, be open to everyone who calls you, and just don't overthink it. Like, everything's going to be okay. I promise.
Yeah. So, I mean,
not seem like it in that moment, but it will be.
Yeah. So for everyone listening, I mean, you're talking to an assistant coach, a recruiting coordinator. You know, I think some people need to like open their eyes a little bit. Like, I'm from New England. Like, New England is a hotbed for basketball, whether it's Division I, Division II, or Division III.
Yeah.
And sorry to tell to the kids and the parents, your kid isn't going to probably play in the WNBA. There's going to be a very small percentage. So make sure you're going to school that's going to get you a solid education.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we also, so I really enjoyed talking to you. It's fine. It's great that we finally got to meet and connect. Hopefully you'll be back on the way, so we'll be able to meet in person.
Yeah. That would be awesome. Thanks, Jen. I appreciate it. This is
all right. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.